peccatoribus.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus and his disciples came into Judean territory, and he spent some time with them there, baptizing. John too was baptizing at Enon near Salim, where water was plentiful and people kept coming to be baptized. John, of course, had not yet been thrown into prison. A controversy about purification arose between John's disciples and a certain Jew. So they came to John saying, "Rabbi, the man who was with you across the Jordan, the one about whom you had been testifying, is baptizing now, and everyone is flocking to him." John answered, "No one can lay hold on anything unless it is given him from on high. You yourselves are witnesses to the fact that I said, 'I am not the Messiah, I am sent before him.' It is the groom who has the bride. The groom's best man just waits there listening for him and is overjoyed to hear his voice. That is my joy, and it is complete. He must increase while I must decrease." The Gospel of the Lord. Let us all be seated. Today is Saturday after Epiphany, and the Mass for today progresses to teach us the more important truths of the Catholic Church. You see, we have to progress every day in our knowledge of the teachings and the commandments of Christ. Every day we must progress. Because as St. Thomas of Aquinas says, he who does not progress regresses. So if you do not move forward in the spiritual life, you will go backward. It's always like that. So it is so important that we always progress in our knowledge and obedience to the teachings of Christ. Otherwise, we are going to regress. And so you will notice that every Mass that we attend teaches us something new and something more important and something more difficult to do. That is progress. If you keep on doing the same thing without improvement in what you are doing, you will tend to regress, to go back. And so it is important that we always progress, which means do something more difficult every day. That is progress. That is to climb. In the Gospel for today, we are presented with a picture of Saint John the Baptist, Jesus Christ, and the people of Judea. Three people in the picture. Jesus Christ is God. John the Baptist is the friend of Christ. And there are the people whom John was trying to lead to Christ. So the picture is this, that Christ is God, He is the goal. John is the precursor and friend of Christ. And as friend of Christ, John was leading the people to Christ. And so in the gospel for today, the followers of John were a little confused because they saw John performing wonders, and at the same time they saw Christ performing wonders. And so they were asking John, who is supposed to be the Messiah? To whom are we supposed to go? And John, being a friend of Christ, said, don't come to me. Go to Christ. Now that is a friend of Christ. Now let us put ourselves in the same picture. We have Christ, to whom all of us are going to because we want to go to heaven. And we have preachers or seniors or superiors who are supposed to be the friends of Christ. And there is the community, you. Now, if everything is going all right, the friends of Christ, the superiors, the seniors, and every one of us who are friends of Christ are supposed to lead the community to Christ. Christ is called the bridegroom. The community is called the bride. And we, superiors, the seniors, and all of us are also called the friends of the groom, the friends of Christ. Now, if we are truly friends of Christ, we must lead the community to Christ by telling the members of the community the will of Christ, the will of God. Because to love Christ is to do His will. So everybody who consider themselves as the friend of Christ, the friend of the bridegroom, should lead the community, the bride, to Christ by telling everyone to do the will of Christ. That is the picture of the gospel for today. A perfect picture. John, the precursor, Christ, and the people to whom John was talking to. Then St. Thomas of Aquinas says, don't be traitors. Now, what is a traitor? That's the opposite of a friend. John was a friend of Christ, leading all the people to Christ. Judas was a traitor to Christ because He was leading people to themselves and to himself. So who are the traitors to Christ? Those of us who are encouraging others, the members of the community, to do what they want. When you encourage each other to do what each other wants, their own will, you are teaching them to love themselves and not Christ. Or worse, if you encourage others to do what is your will, because if others do what you will, you are teaching them to love yourself. So it's like the best man, the friend of the bridegroom, encouraging the bride to love herself or to love the best man and not the bridegroom. Now, isn't that a great act of treason? That instead of teaching the community to love Christ, like what John did, we are teaching the community to love themselves by doing their own will, or to love us by doing our own will. That is a very grave sin. And that is what is happening today. As the first reading has said, today people are being encouraged because we like to be popular. What do people do? We encourage other people to do what they want, or we ourselves do or allow others to do what they want. And so everybody is becoming a traitor to Jesus Christ. No one is teaching anyone to love the bridegroom, which is Jesus Christ. And to make matters worse, as the first reading, the last sentence was telling us, we are even encouraged to love idols, as what happened in the recent completed Vatican Synod on the Amazon, where even Pope Francis and some cardinals and bishops and priests are encouraging us to love not Christ, but idols. So you see, man, because of fallen nature, loves to commit sin. So we love to do what we want. We want to do what the devil wants. Very few are working to find out what Christ wants. And so there we have the perfect picture of everybody destined to go to heaven. There is Christ, there is John the Baptist, and there is the chosen people, with John the Baptist leading everyone to Christ, saying, Christ must increase and I must decrease until I become nothing. And the opposite picture is painted by St. Thomas of Aquinas, the world of which the devil is the prince, wherein the encouragement is to do your own will or to do my own will, and to try to be popular by trying to please all men rather than to please God. And so the gospel ends by saying, if we look at this community and we see that the community is loving Christ by obeying only Christ, then, like the best man, the friend of the bridegroom, that is more than enough to make us happy, because the bridegroom is very happy. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.